once again skip our list of questions so far and return to that at the end after I give a few remarks here as well. So as Martin said, I just began my current position last week, so I don't have a whole lot to say yet about publishing operations at the University of North Texas. So I'm going to draw on my experiences working at Michigan Publishing, which, as Martin said, is this primary academic publishing enterprise of the University of Michigan. So it includes University of Michigan Press as a sort of flagship brand, but a lot of other publishing-related services at the U of M library. And I just have a sort of few musings on innovation and sustainability in digital publishing that I do hope will prompt some further discussion. So there's a sort of tension between innovation and sustainability. I think it's really in all sorts of business activities. I've been thinking about it most in terms of publishing, but I think it's a sort of broader phenomenon. You know, to draw on Clayton Christensen, who has this sort of model of disruptive innovations, you know, disruptive innovations occur. You have this innovation that comes along, and there's this recurring phenomenon that established businesses can't adopt it because doing so would take away scarce resources from what they're already doing. And their customers expect them to keep doing that, and they can't divert extra energy towards the new thing, whereas a new entrant to the market can in fact do that because that's all they're doing. So, so you know, you've got these things you're already doing, and you just can't find time to do them. And in publishing, this sort of sustainability includes not only scalability of the publishing workflow, right, that you can take on more projects and fit them in and not overwhelm your staff, but also preservation of what you have published, because you know, in the print-only world, the publisher finished with it, they made a bunch of books, and then it was the library's job to keep those books. But when you're a publisher of content, you host it online, and then you're kind of stuck hosting it and continuing to host it, or turn that over to Portico, or even if not, you may be continuing to sort of sell the product kind of forever, right? Because you're selling ebooks, and you know, in today's world, like, nothing ever has to go out of print, so you're still stuck with that product forever. So, in Michigan Publishing, we always have taken this preservation mission of the publisher quite seriously, saying, well, we're a library-based publisher, and so, you know, this is what makes us different from other publishers. We're not just going to ditch it after a while. You know, we say that one advantage to publishing with us is that whatever you publish with us becomes part of the library's collection, and then it will be preserved, you know, indefinitely. You know, if pressed on what indefinitely means, we would probably say something like, well, we would never discard it without intention. That this would be, there would be a sort of deaccessioning or weeding process, is what we'd call it in libraries traditionally, of deciding, well, okay, this is no longer worth keeping, but that we're not going to just like flip off the switch one day because we get tired of it. Digital preservation as a whole is a sort of, is actually fairly easy to do at scale when you have content, or sort of even a large amount of content, that is in the same form, right? Is uniformly structured. So, because whatever you might have to do to preserve that content, you've got all these PDFs, and you have to move them out of PDFs. If they're all very similarly structured PDFs, you could probably do that same action on them all as a whole. PDF's a weird example. I probably shouldn't have chosen that one. But if you have homogeneous content, you are more likely to be able to do that same thing in bulk with a computer in a way that scales very well. It doesn't matter how much content you have. And so, of course, if you're publishing things, producing digital products, you're going to have as a goal to produce products that are, in fact, quite uniformly structured. But the problem here is that this need to innovate as a publisher sort of constantly challenges the preservation mandate here. Because, you know, doing innovation often requires new forms of content, right? I mean, as Kate was hinting, it's not just journals and books, but we have, well, and also Sarah as well, but we have new forms of scholarship, new new media, new sort of genres, I think is really the better term here. And so, you know, if you're publishing all sorts of new things like this, your corpus of digital content that you build up becomes more diverse, and you have more types of digital objects, and they're going to require, this is adding to your workload for digital preservation in the future. So what I'm going to share with you is a sort of sketch of things that we were kind of starting to articulate informally as I left, haven't really like made an official policy. So, you know, don't go telling all your friends that this is exactly how it is, but this is kind of how it is at Michigan. So if you come to us with a sort of digital publishing product or project that you would like us to work with you on, so something that you imagine being sort of, you know, born digital, not just a book, not just a journal, but something that is sort of the digital world, of the web, that, you know, this work, whatever it is, fundamentally needs to be, first of all, we're really only going to take it on if it's a text in the end. Not just purely an online gallery or data set or something we would send you elsewhere if it's the University of Michigan. Other parts of the library or the campus for that sort of support. But it also needs to be something that you could read from start to finish, right? So not experimental hypertext, well, maybe not so experimental anymore, but the way that hypertext advocates were trying to come up with ways that you might read in sort of multiple dimensions, the sort of choose your own adventure style. We're not so interested in those. They present all sorts of problems for digital preservation, not to speak of problems for readers in understanding how to work with it. So we're going to require that this object be serializable. And if it has embedded media of some sort, we need to be certain that they're in open, non-proprietary file formats that don't require browser plugins, and that we, you know, think we're going to be able to migrate forward in the future. Again, as something others have been discussing here, that we need to have a way of sustaining this into the future. Actually, I want to say a little more even about the first point. You know, this we think, I mean, you might say like, well, but why are you really requiring this? I mean, you're just thinking in a limited way based on your current publishing technology and platforms. You know, we're thinking ahead to where these products might move in the future. And, you know, most platforms today do in fact require that you can serialize a text in some way. I would say Scalar is the notable exception there. And so we think we're playing it a little safe there, and also helping those readers who are, at this point, expecting that kind of linear experience. The second thing here is just sort of a good practice in any form of digital publishing and digital preservation. If someone was going to question this commitment to accessibility, which is really underlying kind of both points, especially the second one, you know, our sort of the argument we have in our back pocket and ready, because they say like, but I really need to use Flash because it, you know, lets me present this. You know, our argument here is that, you know, your work, your scholarship here is too important for us not to be able to make sure that it's fully accessible to readers in the future. You're really doing yourself a disservice if you're insisting on some sort of format here that is going to lock in the content. Okay, but if you can't meet these requirements, then we have a sort of fallback plan here. So our plan is that you could give us a self-contained, standards-compliant website that we would host and give our imprint to. Because we feel reasonably confident that we'd be able to migrate this into the future. So a set of HTML files, CSS documents, sort of other things that comply to World Wide Web Consortium standards. And it's all like a package of its own. It doesn't rely on a content management system on the back end. It doesn't require that you have Drupal or WordPress or Plone or some other piece to it that would in fact be much harder to ensure over the very long run. And if you were really going to insist on some file format inside, well, I think we just rule out Flash entirely, but if you had something inside that wouldn't be accessible to a user that was using a screen reader technology because they are visually impaired, then, so like a video clip, then we would need a transcript of any words that were spoken or displayed in that video, again, for accessibility. So, so this would kind of, ideally, all these pieces would come to us, have been put together by a web developer who understands what we're going for here and knows web standards well enough. And what you give us here is akin to what a publisher might call demanding a camera-ready PDF, right? For certain projects you take on where you don't have the resources to do all of the work on the book, but if the author can give it to you in a format that's basically ready to send off to the printer, you agree to take it on. So ideally, they'd be able to give it to us that way, and then we'd be in a good situation. But we can't always expect that or get that, and so we've been thinking a bit about recovering costs here to handle this work of producing such a sort of standalone digital product. So for open access content, the general model of Michigan Publishing for a while has been to use what's commonly called the freemium model, where you give away some version of the content online and make it open access, but then you attempt to recover your costs by selling versions like ebook files or print versions in formats that are more comfortable and portable for users. So, and we're selling those things because we're trying to recover those costs that we've sunk into the book, right? That we put it through a copy editing process, well, that it went through a whole acquisitions and peer review process, that we put it through copy editing, that we put it through a sort of typesetting process to get it ready for print if we're producing print. But if we're producing some sort of purely digital product here, then and we're not going to produce a print version, and we're not going to even sell a standalone ebook file, then we need some other way to recover the costs here. So we're essentially going to need a subvention to cover this full one-time cost in the production here, to cover whatever sort of equivalent of copy editing and production typesetting work would go into that book, and the marketing and the acquisitions costs as well. So, so that's what we've been kind of setting up here as our mode of operating for these for products that really push the boundary, I guess, of a scholarly publication. So that said, I'd like to have a discussion with all of you. So we invite questions from any of you on things we've said so far, sort of responses to points we've brought up here. But you know, we've also hinted at having some questions of our own, and so we would, I'm going to throw up here our list of questions that we kind of skipped over in the slides before, things that we'd like to hear more from you about as well. So we really recommend responses to these questions or to anything we've said to you so far about publishing and preservation.